In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 college basketball games happening on March 12, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Virginia versus Georgia Tech. The Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament is set to deliver an exciting second-round matchup between the number 9 Virginia Cavaliers and the number 8 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets this Wednesday. Both teams are looking to keep their seasons alive, and this game could be a turning point for either squad. The Cavaliers and Yellow Jackets faced off once during the regular season, with Virginia securing a 75-61 victory as a 2.5-point home favorite. Now, as the number 9 and number 8 seeds respectively, they'll battle it out at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, NC. The winner will earn the daunting task of taking on the top-seeded Duke Blue Devils in the next round. Georgia Tech enters this game needing to bounce back after a tough loss to Wake Forest over the weekend. In that game, the Yellow Jackets struggled mightily on offense, shooting just 29.6% from the field and a dismal 13% from beyond the arc. They also turned the ball over 16 times, which led to 23 points for Wake Forest. On the bright side, Georgia Tech's defense held Wake Forest to 38.1% shooting and kept the rebounding battle competitive, losing just 42-40. The Yellow Jackets will need to find their rhythm on offense quickly in this rematch, especially after their last meeting with Virginia ended in a 75-61 loss on February 8th. A strong start will be crucial for Georgia Tech to build momentum and stay in the game. This matchup has the potential to be a tightly contested battle if both teams bring their best. While Virginia won the only regular season meeting, Georgia Tech has been the stronger team recently, winning 7 of their last 10 games. During that stretch, the Yellow Jackets pulled off impressive upsets against Louisville, Clemson, Stanford, and Pitt. On the other hand, Virginia has struggled offensively all season, particularly with shooting, and their defense hasn't been as efficient as in years past. The Cavaliers play at one of the slowest paces in the country, but their lack of explosiveness makes them a tough team to trust. Georgia Tech, meanwhile, has shown more consistency on both ends of the floor and seems to be playing with more energy heading into the tournament. For these reasons, I'm leaning toward Georgia Tech to advance. As our first pick for this matchup, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets money line is our full game side pick. When it comes to pace, Virginia is one of the slowest teams in the nation, ranking 360th in adjusted tempo with just 61.1 possessions per 40 minutes. Georgia Tech isn't exactly a fast-paced team either, sitting at 112th with 68.5 possessions per 40 minutes, so don't expect a track meet here. However, the Yellow Jackets do have an edge defensively, ranking 73rd in adjusted defensive efficiency by allowing only 101.5 points per 100 possessions. This game tips off at noon on Wednesday at a neutral site, and with both teams fighting to keep their seasons alive, every possession will matter. Virginia's slow pace and status as the lowest scoring team in the conference could make this a grinded-out affair. Georgia Tech, known for its defense, has averaged just 58 points per game in its last 4 road contests, further suggesting a low-scoring game. Given the lack of explosive scores in either backcourt, this matchup is likely to be defined by defense. Both teams will need to work hard for every basket, and the game could come down to which squad can execute better in the half-court. With that in mind, I expect a defensive battle that stays under the projected total. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Cincinnati versus Iowa State. The 13th-seeded Bearcats are set to face off against the 5th-seeded Cyclones in the second round of the Big 12 tournament, which will take place at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. This matchup comes after the Bearcats secured a measure of revenge in their first-round game, defeating the Oklahoma State Cowboys. That win was particularly satisfying after Cincinnati had fallen to Oklahoma State in their final game of the regular season. On the other side, Iowa State enters this game with an impressive 23-8 overall record and finished the Big 12 regular season with a 13-7 mark in conference play. When it comes to recent history between these two teams, Iowa State has had the upper hand, winning 2 of the last 3 matchups against Cincinnati by an average margin of 10 points. Additionally, the Cyclones have been strong against the spread this season, hosting an 11-6-0 record in games where they've had 2 to 3 days of rest between contests. There's also some encouraging news on the injury front for Iowa State, as Keshawn Gilbert appears to be trending in the right direction. Gilbert practiced on both Monday and Tuesday, increasing the likelihood that he'll be available to play on Wednesday. Cincinnati, on the other hand, has had its share of struggles during conference play and during 3 separate 3-game losing streaks at various points in the season. However, they managed to pull off a win on Tuesday and are now aiming for a major upset in this matchup. The Bearcats are shooting 45% from the field this season, but their offense has been inconsistent, scoring fewer than 70 points in 4 of their last 5 games. Iowa State, currently ranked 12th in the nation, has also hit a bit of a rough patch, dropping 3 of their last 5 games. Despite that, the Cyclones are shooting 47.5% from the field this year, though they've had some difficulties in games played away from home. In their first meeting this season, Iowa State defeated Cincinnati 81-70, and even with their recent struggles, I believe the Cyclones' offense will be too much for the Bearcats to handle in this game. With Gilbert looking healthier and Cincinnati playing on back-to-back days, I don't see much of a path for the Bearcats to pull off a win here. As our first pick for this matchup, the Iowa State Cyclones to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. In their first meeting earlier this season, the two teams easily surpassed the projected total, combining for over 150 points in a game where the line was set at 140. Cincinnati showed some offensive promise in their Tuesday afternoon game, scoring 81 points and playing at a faster pace than usual, despite being ranked just 288th in the nation in terms of pace of play. Their ability to force turnovers and compete on the boards played a big role in that performance. Rebounding, in particular, will be critical in this matchup, as the Bearcats struggled on the glass in their first game against Iowa State. You can expect them to focus heavily on that aspect of the game this time around. Iowa State, meanwhile, finished 4th in the conference in scoring and prefers to play at a faster tempo, ranking 98th nationally in pace. Iowa State has been reliable in hitting the over when playing at neutral sites this season, boasting a 3-0 record in such games. When we look at the offensive and defensive averages of both teams this year, the projected total comes out to 141 points. After factoring in the average pace of play for both teams, 70.9 possessions per game, the adjusted projected total rises to 143. Cincinnati's offensive struggles this season haven't been due to poor shooting, but rather their slower style of play, which limits their number of possessions. Iowa State, on the other hand, thrives in faster-paced games, and with the Cyclones likely dictating the tempo, Cincinnati should see more scoring opportunities than usual. Given the Bearcats' above-average 2-point shooting, this could lead to a higher than expected point total. All signs point to this game going over the total once again. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Texas versus Vanderbilt. The 13-seed Texas Longhorns, who finished the regular season with a record of 17-14 overall and 6-12 in conference play, are set to face off against the 12-seed Vanderbilt Commodores, who posted a 20-11 record overall and an 8-10 mark in Southeastern Conference play. This first-round matchup in the Southeastern Conference tournament will determine which team advances to take on the 5-seed Texas Agricultural and Mechanical Aggies on Thursday. When these two teams clashed earlier in the regular season, Vanderbilt secured an 8-point victory on their home court. The winner of this game will move on to the next round, keeping their postseason hopes alive. The last meeting between these teams took place just over a month ago, with Vanderbilt pulling off a 10-point win as 3-point favorites. After trailing by 4 points at halftime, the Commodores outscored Texas 51-39 in the second half to secure the victory. Vanderbilt dominated the rebounding battle and committed only 7 turnovers, showcasing their efficiency. On the other hand, Texas has struggled to find consistency down the stretch, managing just 1 win in their last 5 games, a narrow overtime victory. Their defensive woes have been particularly glaring, as they've allowed at least 82 points in 6 of their last 8 games. Vanderbilt's offense, meanwhile, had a rough outing in their season finale but has had ample time to regroup. While these teams haven't faced each other frequently over the past decade due to being new conference rivals, Vanderbilt has covered the spread in 2 of the last 3 matchups. Additionally, the Commodores will have a slight home court advantage, as the Southeastern Conference tournament is being held just 2 miles from their campus. This game is shaping up to be a tightly contested battle, as both teams are nearly identical in Ken Palm's rankings, with Texas at 45th and Vanderbilt at 46th. The spread reflects this, sitting at just 1.5 points. Vanderbilt holds the edge in this matchup, thanks to their veteran experience and their earlier win over Texas this season. Texas leans heavily on their star freshman, Tree Johnson, but asking a 19-year-old to carry the load in the high-pressure environment of the Southeastern Conference tournament might be too much. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, boasts 4 seasoned players who can contribute on both ends of the floor. Jason Edwards is capable of matching Johnson's scoring output, and the Commodores' depth will likely be the difference maker. A.J. Hoggard, a 6'4" point guard with 4 years of experience under Tom Izzo at Michigan State, brings a steady hand and leadership to the table. While not a high-volume scorer, Hoggard leads the team in assists and has proven he can perform in big moments, which will be crucial if the game comes down to the wire. Texas's struggles to close out the regular season were concerning, particularly Tree Johnson's lackluster performance in what was essentially a must-win game against Oklahoma. From my perspective, Texas simply isn't a strong basketball team this year, and Vanderbilt is the better squad heading into this matchup. The Commodores also benefit from the tournament being held in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena, giving them a de facto home court advantage. I've been impressed with what Coach Byington has done with this Vanderbilt team, and I believe they'll secure the win and cover the spread in this one. Vanderbilt won the last time these teams met, and they'll do it again. As our first pick for this matchup, the Vanderbilt Commodores money line is our full game side pick. In their regular season meeting, the two teams combined for 164 points, easily surpassing the total of 149.5 points. Both teams are part of a conference known for its high-scoring games, averaging a combined 158 points per contest. They each attempt more than 59 field goals per game and rank in the top 4 in the Southeastern Conference in fewest turnovers, showing their ability to take care of the ball. Vanderbilt plays at a faster pace, ranking 64th in tempo according to Ken Palm, while Texas is slower, sitting at 174th. Even so, the pace of this game should still be decent. Texas's defense has been a major issue late in the season, but their offense has shown some life, scoring 80 or more points in 4 of their last 7 games. Vanderbilt has also been consistent offensively, putting up 77 or more points in 4 of their last 5 outings. Combined, these teams have hit the over in 33 games this season. The over hit in the first matchup between these teams, and there's reason to believe it will happen again. Vanderbilt is stronger on offense than defense, ranking 25th in offensive efficiency, but just 82nd on the defensive end. This imbalance suggests the over is a strong possibility, as the Commodores should be able to score effectively but may struggle to get stops. Vanderbilt's preference for a faster tempo will also play a role, as they'll look to push the pace against a Texas team that prefers a slower game. Additionally, Vanderbilt's depth gives them the ability to maintain a high tempo throughout the game. Texas has trended toward the over in 9 of their last 10 games, a pattern that's likely to continue here. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Kansas State versus Baylor. The 10th-seeded Kansas State Wildcats are set to face the 7th-seeded Baylor Bears in the second round of the Big 12 tournament at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. The Wildcats secured their spot in this matchup by defeating a struggling Arizona State team in the first round. Meanwhile, the Bears enjoyed a first-round bye after finishing the regular season with a 10-10 record in conference play. This Big 12 clash features number 10 Kansas State, fresh off a 71-66 victory over Arizona State on Tuesday, taking on number 7 Baylor. In their win against the Sun Devils, the Wildcats shot an impressive 50% from the field but turned the ball over 13 times, leading to 20 points for Arizona State. That's a mistake they can't afford to repeat against Baylor. Both teams have experienced their share of highs and lows throughout the season. When these two teams last met, Baylor came out on top with a 70-62 victory, though Kansas State managed to cover the spread. The game remained tight until the final minutes, when Baylor pulled away. The Wildcats did a solid job containing Baylor's offense, and their depth off the bench could be a key factor in keeping this matchup competitive. While Kansas State isn't known for their three-point shooting, hitting just 32.9% from beyond the arc this season, they might find success against Baylor, who finished last in the Big 12 in three-point defense, allowing opponents to shoot 35.4% from deep. On the flip side, Baylor shoots 35.4% from 3, but Kansas State ranks 3rd in the conference in limiting opponents to just 31.4% from deep. The Wildcats must also avoid fouling too much. In their last meeting, they sent Baylor to the free throw line 21 times, a mistake they can't afford to repeat. Kansas State has been strong against the spread this season, hosting an 11-6-0 record as an underdog and a perfect 1-0 in the second game of back-to-backs. Baylor, on the other hand, has struggled against the spread as a favorite, going 9-11-0 this season and 7-9-1 in games with 2 to 3 days of rest. The Wildcats have won 2 of their last 3 matchups against the Bears, with an average margin of victory of 7 points. They also covered the spread in their only meeting at Baylor this season. Kansas State's ability to contain Baylor's offense, combined with their deeper bench, could help them keep this game close. Additionally, the Wildcats should be able to take advantage of Baylor's weak 3-point defense, which ranks 16th in the conference. Baylor ended the regular season on a rough note, losing 4 of their final 6 games, making it hard to expect them to dominate a Wildcats team riding a 2-game winning streak. I'm not sold on Baylor in this matchup. The Bears are undersized, with 6'7" forward Amir playing center. While Amir is a double-double machine, his lack of size could be an issue against bigger teams like Kansas State, who have some size inside. Baylor also struggled against the spread this season, covering just 3 of their final 17 games. The Bears play at a slow pace, ranking 309th nationally in tempo, which should help the Wildcats keep the game close, just as they did in the first meeting. I believe Kansas State is the better team in this matchup, and getting points with the stronger squad is always a good bet. As our first pick for this matchup, the Kansas State Wildcats to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Kansas State has an over-under record of 5-10-0 this season in games following a win, while Baylor is 1-2-0 in neutral site games. When comparing both teams' offensive and defensive averages, the projected total comes out to 136 points. However, after factoring in their average pace of 68.7 possessions, the projected total drops to 133. The first meeting between these teams had a total set at 140, but they combined for just 132 points. Expect a similar style of game on Wednesday, as Baylor's offense, likely rusty from the layoff, struggles to score and continues to play at a slow pace. Kansas State plays at a moderate tempo and finished the season ranked 12th in the Big 12 in points per game. Both teams take care of the ball well, combining for just 12 turnovers in their first matchup. That means fewer fast break opportunities and easy baskets, contributing to a lower scoring game. Both teams prefer a slower pace, and their patient approach to possessions should keep the total points down. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.